to
Yes,
start.
certainly. Okay,
Over to you.
right. So to start then, um, I don't know if everyone is familiar to the way that PIP works. PIP is a points-based disability benefit. It has a mobility and a daily living component. The daily living component looks at disability across 10 different areas of need. They're called descriptors, and the mobility across two of them, two things. So there's daily living PIP and mobility PIP. You have to get at least 8 points to get the standard rate of PIP daily living. If you get 12 points, you get the enhanced rate. And separately from that is the mobility component. You need 8 points to get standard rate mobility and 12 points to get enhanced mobility. So there were never any changes to proposals to change the mobility side. There were proposals, still are. They still want to change the daily living side of PIP. If people only get daily living or mobility, they tend to get just daily living more often than they just get mobility. So a change to the daily living component will affect more people than if it were changed to the mobility. As I say, there are more people. Some people get daily living and mobility. Some get just mobility, and some just get daily living. There are more people who get just daily living than just mobility. So that could affect quite a lot of people. So I'm very quickly just going to bring up. I'm going to share my screen if I can. Let's see now. And I can't see an option to, here we go. Right, okay. Share my screen. If I then bring up this, okay, can everyone see the PIP? I'm not going to go into huge detail about this. Anything more than that will confuse people, hopefully not. But you've got the daily living activity. You see it says PIP point scores daily living activities. You've got 10 daily living activities. You see number 1, preparing food. Number 2, nutrition. Number 3, managing therapy or monitoring a health condition. 4, washing and bathing. 5, toilet needs or incontinence. 6, dressing and undressing. 7, communicating verbally. 8, reading and understanding signs, symbols and words. 9, engaging with people face to face. So that's particularly relevant to people with autism and mental health conditions. 10, making budgeting decisions. Then you go on to the mobility one, but I'm not going to look at that because that's not changing. So, well, I could just say to you, yeah, there's two mobility areas to look at: planning and following journeys, number 1, and number 2, moving around. And you see that at the end of these descriptors, you've got various points described, what you need to get each point, these points. So if you go back to the daily living ones, so you see down here, you can get 0 points, 2 points, 2 points, 4, 8 points. Number 2, nutrition. Again, you've got various points you can get depending on how disabled you are. So say take, for example, preparing food, number 1. If your need is F, you cannot prepare and cook food at all, you get 8 points just on that. But you might just get 2 points for that. And say for number 2, taking nutrition, which is actually eating the food, you might get 2. So you can pick up various points. Some of them have up to 8 points. Taking nutrition has up to 10 you can get. So if you get a total of at least 8 across these 10 daily living areas, you'll get standard rate PIP. So you need at least 8 points to get PIP at all. The current rule is you just need 8 points in total. The proposal from the government was to change it so that you need at least 4 points in one of these areas. So if you just get 2 in each and you have 8, you won't get PIP anymore. But if you have at least 4 points, as you see, for example, number E under preparing food, supervision to or assistance to either prepare and cook a simple meal. If you get 4 points on that one, for example, and less points on the other, and it's 8 overall, you'll get it. Or you might get, you could get 6 points on one or 4 points on another. But you have to not just get 8 overall. At least one of these separate areas has to be at least 4. That's the proposal. Now, so is that fairly understandable? Hopefully it is. So you've got 10 daily living activities of which you've always needed at least 8 points across these areas, but the proposal is you won't get PIP unless at least one of them is 4 or more. So what I'm going to do now is just instead bring up my sheet here. So I've got here my sheet, which I put my information. So as you know, the government has climbed down on it. The proposal was to bring from November, to make this change I've just described from November 2026, that it's definitely going to come in, that no one will get PIP mobility unless they have a total of 8 points, of which one of them must be at least 4. That's been defeated by a backbench rebellion. So as I say in this first bullet point, there is now no change to PIP until after a review and consultation with disability groups in late 2026. First bullet point there. And as I've just explained, the proposed change was to make receipt of the daily living component of PIP dependent on claimants getting 4 points in one descriptor, in at least one descriptor, at least one descriptor, as well as the existing overall 8 points. It may still happen. It may still come in, but no changes to happen until there's a review. So no legislation has been passed on that. So for now, it's the existing criteria. You get daily living component of PIP if you get at least 8 points across various descriptors of disability, and you get mobility component if you get at least 8 points separately to that. And then what I've got, so basically that is really all there is to say on PIP. There are things I can answer other questions on that, but there are other things about other benefits I'm going to do now. I've got this sheet here. It's not a huge amount of information, and I can obviously answer questions on any of it. Before I say what's going to happen with other benefits, does anyone have any particular questions for me that they'd like to voice now on the PIP changes, or have I explained it enough? And there'll be questions after as well. Okay, don't think anyone's. I can only see a few people down the side of my screen, so I won't necessarily see if anyone's put their hand up. No speaking.
No one's got their hand up at the moment.
That's okay.
That was very clear. Thank you.
Okay,
Martin.
good. So go on. So the following changes, as I'm saying here under the first bullet point, the following changes are still planned to take place. But I'm putting a disclaimer here. Do not assume this cannot change. Check if unsure with an advisor, myself, or someone else. And I've put don't rely on 100% on the following, because I've done my research. As far as I know, this is correct, but it could all change. So there are other changes with universal credit. They've talked about the health element reducing from £97 to £50 a week. What that means is universal credit, if you are classed as limited capability for work-related activity, so you're much more disabled than average, you're unlikely to work in the near future, possibly not at all. The limited capability for work-related activity element, which the news is referring to as the health element, currently £97 a week. I don't know why they've said it's going down from 97, because it's actually paid monthly. It's never paid weekly. It's £423.27 a month, which does amount to 97 a week. It was to be frozen for existing claimants. This has now been scrapped, so that amount of 423.27 a month will continue to rise with inflation for existing claimants. However, from April 2026, as I say, this is still coming in as far as we know, new universal credit claimants will not be eligible for this health element, as they call it, or the correct term is limited capability for work-related activity, unless they're age at least 22, because currently they can get it from 18, or occasionally people get universal credit from 16, but it was from 18 basically. You're going to have to be 22 to get it, and it will be reduced to £50 a week, which will pay around £215 a month. So existing claimants will still get their £423.27 a month, and it will go up. From April 2026, new universal credit claimants will have to be age at least 22, and they'll get around £215 a month, not £423. That's still going ahead, as far as we know, from April next year. The standard rate, second bullet point, the standard rate of universal credit will rise for the first time above the rate of inflation from April 2026. So it's not all cuts. That's a positive one. The work capability assessment, Next bullet point, work capability assessment is based on completion of a UC50 or an ESA 50 form. This is how they decide if a universal credit claimant has the limited capability for work-related activity element, or whether they are just limited capability for work, which is signed off sick but likely to go back to work. That assessment will be scrapped from 2028. Instead, they'll use the PIP criteria to assess this element of universal credit, this health element of universal credit, which is, so I've just been through the PIP assessment with you very briefly to show you how it works for the points. So, so this will be how the, so this is the element which is being reduced from 415 to 215 a month for new claimants from April. They will use the PIP assessment, which you've just seen, not the existing element based on UC50 or ESA 50, which I haven't shown you, but because that would probably be too much information. But that assessment will go, and the PIP criteria will be used to assess whether people get this higher limited capability for work-related activity element of £215 a month or not. We don't know exactly how this will work, so don't have any further information as to how many points you'll need to get the higher amount or not. But that's what they will use to decide if people will get it. And as I say, for new claimants, as it says in the previous bullet point, it will go down from 423 to 215 a month if you get it. And then finally, there is final bullet point, the two contribution-based benefits, New Style ESA, New Style Employment and Support Allowance, and New Style JSA, New Style Job Seeker Allowance. Those will be replaced with a new unemployment insurance benefit. It'll be national insurance contribution based as it is now, but there will be one rate of it, which will be the same as the support group of New Style ESA, which is currently £140.55 a week. So that's actually quite an increase. That's a positive thing for claimants. It'll pay £140.55 a week from day one if you're over 25, and £121.40 a week if you're under 25. This is quite a big increase to the standard rate, because as it works at the moment, the standard rates of New Style JSA, Job Seeker Allowance, and New Style ESA are £92.05 if you're over 25, or £72.90 a week if you're under 25. These are the basic rates for these benefits currently. Currently, you only get anything more than those basic rates if you get placed into the support group of ESA, which is similar to the limited capability for work. Well, it's exactly the same as limited capability for work related in universal credit. Is if you're more disabled, less likely to go back to work, you currently start on these lower rates, and you go up to this higher rate, 140 a week if you're over 25, 121 a week if you're under 25. You go up to that after 3 months if you get placed in the support group, otherwise you stay on that. But everyone is going to get, whether it's, and JSA doesn't have a higher rate, it just has this standard rate of 92 or 72 pounds a week depending on your age. But from now on, everyone, ESA or JSA, looking for work or signed off sick, is going to get this higher rate from day one, 140 a week if you're over 25, 121 if you're under 25. So that's quite a big increase. So so it's not all about cuts. These people will be better off. And finally, in the last paragraph, I need to say that currently New Style Job Seekers Allowance is paid for 6 months only. That's what you get, 6 months only at £92 or £72. ESA works differently. It's paid for 12 months only. Normally, if you're in the work-related activity group, which means you may go back to work, or it's paid indefinitely if you're in the support group. So currently it will pay you up to 12 months or a minimum, whereas JSA is only ever paid for 6 months, and you are paid indefinitely if you get that higher amount for the support group, and it goes on as long as you're sort of sick, years sometimes. So we have no further details of how long the new benefit, unemployment insurance benefit, will be paid for. Will it be 6 months? Will it be a year? Will it be indefinite? We don't know yet. But as far as we know, the change to that will come in also in April 2026. So basically that is the changes that are still going ahead despite the government U-turn. So the first bullet point is the PIP change will be as I described at the beginning of the meeting. If it goes ahead, it may never go ahead depending on the consultation, and the rest of the bullet points describe the changes which, as far as we know, are still going ahead. So I'm happy to just send this to anyone who wants a copy of this, if they give me their email address. Not sure if I've got the email address of everyone for the meeting. I don't think that comes up. And I'm very happy to answer any questions about any of this if you like. So I will just going to stop sharing a minute so I can see you all again. Does anyone have any questions
Martin,
about those changes?
Joanne has a question. It's in the chat. So she says, are GPs still going to be involved in PIPs and universal credit? I know the government did raise a query whether to take this away from GPs, but haven't heard anything recently.
Okay, I must be honest that I have no knowledge. I don't know whether GPs will continue to be involved. There's nothing I've heard about any change to that. So I would probably assume it's the same unless you hear otherwise. I say I could have missed it. I'm not infallible, but I've not heard about any change to that so far. The chat
Lots
box.
of people are popping their emails into the chat, Martin. So I think, yeah, but I think we can distribute it, can't we, Mike? We can probably send it out.
All right.
Follow up
So
with it.
I'll send one to you, Mike, and you can pop everyone's email and send it off. Okay.
That'd be great sort of to do that.
Yeah.
That was really, really useful, Martin, to have that information. I know it's a lot. I'm someone from a benefits background like yourself, so I enjoy that sort of information.
Yes.
But sometimes when it's being presented, there's lots of figures in that, but when you actually see it down on a sheet, you can sort of make a little bit more sort of sense.
Well, I tried to put as much detail that it's clear, but not, obviously I've put a bit of background information about the benefits concerned, but you have to know a little bit about the benefits concerned as well, but hopefully that's enough detail without showing too much unnecessary detail about the benefits themselves, but enough to understand, sort of get an idea of it. And you've got a question, Anna? You've got a question?
Yeah, excuse my ignorance on this, Martin. Are they all means tested, or which ones are affected by people's existing income?
Okay. So universal credit is means tested. Mm-hmm. PIP is not means tested. New style ESA, employment support allowance, and job seekers allowance are basically not means tested. Savings don't matter. If you get an occupational pension over £85 a week, that affects ESA. Otherwise, it's not means tested. JSA is not means tested. You can do a certain amount of work in both of those without the benefit being affected, or with it being affected. But basically, savings, they're basically ESA and JSA are not means tested unless you get an occupational pension, which affects ESA. PIP not means tested at all. No other income or savings affect it. Universal credit always has been means tested, and that continues. If you have 16,000 or more savings, either the figure is the same if you're a single person or a couple, you don't get universal credit. If you have less than 6,000, that has no effect on the benefit. If you have 6 to 16,000 savings, it gradually reduces, and that's taken into account with your other income. Okay.
Thank you very much.
And so if you claim, for example, if you get ESA or JSA, it doesn't matter what your partner earns. Your partner can have a full-time job, well-paid job, whatever savings, you'll still get it. Okay. Just looking to see if there are any other questions or any other anyone else their hand that I may not have noticed.
It's just me.
Yeah.
Martin, I know it's a totally separate benefit. We when we're sort of doing the wellbeing work, we get a lot of queries from carers about attendance allowance.
Yes.
And many carers are sort of under the impression that they can't apply, they can't apply for it because they've got savings. Is that correct?
No, attendance allowance, totally non-means tested, not affected by savings in any way, not affected by savings, not affected by other income. So no means testing for attendance allowance at all. And something worth bearing in mind is that whilst the majority of people of pension age in Sussex have an income too high for a pension credit, probably 19 out of 20 people I speak to, we're not in a poor area. If both partners get attendance allowance, then the allowance for pension credit goes right up, and a couple's income can be topped up potentially to 550, even £600 a week sometimes if both partners get attendance allowance. So if both partners get attendance allowance, it's always worth looking at pension credit or referring to me for that, or another advisor, because a lot of people who wouldn't get pension credit if just one partner gets attendance allowance do, because the minimum income guarantee is a lot higher. It's 550 or even £600 a week sometimes, which you can be topped up to. So if you've got pensions paying you, even 500 a week, you could potentially have it topped up by another 100 a week, and you keep your attendance allowance as well. So that's worth bearing in mind. But attendance allowance is non-means tested.
Okay.
Pension credit is means tested. But as I say, if both partners get attendance allowance, it's more likely that they will get it.
Okay, thank you, Martin.
Aside there.
Got another question, Martin, from Leslie over at Arundel Surgery. She says, are neurodiversity, so for example, severe dyslexia, included in PIP?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's generally harder to get PIP for mental conditions than physical. Reason being that the assessment is very old-fashioned in that they're assessing you when you have the assessment. They're assessing you from the moment you enter the room or the moment you're on the phone. If you don't come across as disabled, you're less likely to get it. So for that reason, it's harder to get it for mental things and dyslexia, but lots of people do. Lots of people get it for autism and mental health conditions. So dyslexia, it depends how debilitating it is. You look at these different descriptors which we were mentioning, in fact, I might even share that again momentarily. Look at these daily living activities, how it affects them. So for dyslexia, you'd be looking at, there we go, communicating verbally, certainly reading, understanding signs, symbols and words. So you're going to be looking at this one, number 8. They could get up to 8 points. If they would get 8 points, they cannot read or understand signs, symbols and words at all. They would get 8 points on that alone, or they might need prompting and they get 4 points or 2 points. And it's a case of looking at it and when you fill in the claim form, you basically you're filling it in to show how many points you think they should get. You can actually use this guide. You're allowed to quote when you fill in the form or when you do an appeal how many points you think the person should get. You're allowed to do that. That's actually encouraged by DWP. It's not a problem. So that's something that is worth bearing in mind. I think I've stopped sharing now. There's that. Yeah.
Martin, Leslie's just sort of added unable to read mail, send written communications. Can't use a cash machine. Would those be the sort of things that you could put down on there?
You could certainly put those things down as well. Yes, absolutely. And the thing to emphasize is what can I not do? What's the consequences of me not being able to do it? Have I had accidents or have I become confused, distressed? Give examples and state how the presence of another person would help you do those things, and what happens if someone is not available. Those kind of statements will help you get PIP. Yeah. Just checking, there's nothing, it's not up on the screen now, is it? The point system or anything? You can just see me. That's fine. Just checking. Yeah. So that is the way to fill it in, to emphasize, what the area of disability is. What happens if I don't get this help? What difficulties do I have? Give a couple of examples, ideally. Okay.
Okay, That's brilliant, Martin.
Okay.
Just in a separate sort of question. So
yes,
we encourage carers sort of to be referred sort of into the benefit service sort of within carer support. How long would you say sort of like the wait would be sort of like for someone being booked in for an appointment? Is it a fairly short wait, or I know like sometimes you try and book in.
At the moment, people who are booked into us for an appointment with me or my colleague Donna, who does same as me, you're looking at 1 to 2 weeks at the moment.
Oh, that's brilliant.
If we had a lot more bookings, it might go up to 2 to 3 weeks. It used to be 4 weeks when it was just me. Since we've taken Donna on a couple of years ago, it's generally 1 to 2 weeks at the most. It doesn't take that long to get an appointment with us. We see about 35 people a week between us, generally about that number, give or take.
No, that's brilliant.
I see up to 5 people a day. Donna up to about 3 generally. Appointments 20 to 40 minutes average, I would guess. Probably similar time to write it up, and I always follow up my advice with an email detailing exactly what I've advised and what you need to do, what websites to use. So I always say to people, write things down during the appointment if you want, but if not, don't worry, because I'm going to send you an email with everything you need to do. I do that straight after the appointment normally. Okay.
And the feedback we get from carers who have had benefit advice from Martin and Donna is very positive. Very often they find, they're entitled to benefits they haven't didn't even think they were qualified for.
Indeed, yes.
And
I'll give you a good example in a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, yesterday there was a lady there was a very nice Polish lady and her partner. She lived in England 16 years, works in a factory. Her husband works in a restaurant. They both work, but they get small amount of universal credit already. 2 children under 10, 2 daughters. One of them just been awarded disability living allowance for children, middle rate care component. 73.90 a week, and I said to her, you need to tell universal credit because there's now 2 other things you can get, which you won't get automatically because DLA and universal credit don't talk to each other as such. It's not automatic. Tell them that your daughter has now got DLA middle rate care component and that you're her full-time carer, and you will get the disabled child edition, an extra £158.76 a month, lower rate disabled child edition, and you also get £200.68 a month carer edition. So that's an extra £359 a month they didn't know they could claim, which is a big help to them because they've got rent to pay. They're both having to work. They've got 2 kids, one of them disabled. So that's an extra £359 a month for them that they didn't know they could get. So that's good. They could have, if they don't tell universal credit the child's been given DLA, they won't know, so they wouldn't have got either of those additions. They will now, though, and they will also be backdated to the date when the DLA was awarded. So the DLA, it took 4 months to decide on the DLA, and they decided where they're awarding it from February. So she gets her backdated DLA middle rate care component, £73.90 a week. And also, once universal credit she will get her care edition and her disabled child edition backdated to February as well, which is brilliant. A big lump sum, quite a big lump sum for them, plus their ongoing extra £359 a month. They didn't know. They could have gone without it. Yeah. So that was a good success story.
Yeah, and it's always lovely to hear those stories, and we do hear it so often.
Yeah.
Sort of people getting good news, what they're entitled to, and even those that haven't sort of qualified for any extra benefits have said that that they found talking to yourself or Donna. You explain things very clearly.
Yeah, do try.
So they understand. So
yes,
thank you for what you do, and
Martin,
thank you for your time.
Just one more question that
Okay.
Zoe has popped in the chat. She says, do you do home visits for appointments?
No, not authorised to do home visits at all for appointments yet. That would be up to my managers. So that isn't authorised at the minute. I wouldn't mind doing them, but it would mean zooming all over West Sussex. It would mean I wouldn't be able to do nearly as many appointments with the travelling and everything. I do, normally my appointments are over the phone. Me and Donna's appointments we can do them by Zoom. That can be arranged. Normally it's over the phone. There's very little that you need to be face to face for when it comes down to it. We do meetings in the community sometimes where I will say, give a little talk, and I'll say, you want to come and talk to me about benefits after the meeting, you can, and I will do a little advice session for somebody. If there isn't time to do it properly, then they don't want to, anyone to overhear them, well, I'll take their email address and phone number and I'll arrange an appointment for them, which is over the phone. So not any home visits at the minute. We're not really resourced for that.
Thank you.
Hey. Yeah, I'm just looking at the chat. I don't think I've missed anything. Yeah.
Don't worry, I've been monitoring it. We've answered all the questions that have popped up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's been absolutely amazing. Thank you, Martin, for your time. You're welcome to stay, but it's up to you. Yeah, that's been fantastic.
Okay, good. Yeah, as I say, and people you can send me an email with a query if you have just a query of, say, I've got this client, I want to know the answer to this. I'm happy to be emailed directly. As long as it's not hundreds of emails, then that's okay as well. Martin.Yarde at Carers Support, for one word, .org.uk. Yeah, Martin.Yarde, Y-A-R-D-E, at carersupport.org.uk.
That's lovely.
Okay. All right, and I'll be very happy to see anyone, who you refer from doctor surgeries or whatever. They need to register with Carers Support over the phone. That's very easy to do, and you'll get an appointment with me or Donna within a week or two. We can help to a limited extent with the filling in the forms over the phone, and we can certainly help to say, we think you're entitled to whatever benefit, make a claim for it, both the person who's doing the caring and the one who is being cared for. We advise for both. Okay.
That's lovely. Okay. Thank you, Martin.
Okay.
So
thanks, Martin.
Thank you. So a couple of weeks ago, maybe about a month ago, I met a very lovely lady at a cafe in Worthing called Buddies, which is run by Mencap. So I have asked Sue if she would join us today and just give us a bit of an overview of the project that takes place at Buddies in Worthing, but also a little bit of information about Mencap as it is. So Sue, are you still here?
Yes. Yeah, I'm ready to go.
All right, Sue.
Just listening to all that information on benefits. It's a minefield, isn't it?
It is. It is. Yeah. We're very lucky to have Martin.
Yeah, I remember doing it years ago, and but anyway, yeah. So anyway, thanks, Mike, for inviting me along. I've been with Mencap for over 20 years now, but I did have a break for a while, contracts ended and so forth, and I went off to work in the corporate world. Wasn't the same. I was grateful for a job and I enjoyed the people I supported, but my heart always was with Mencap. Anyway, a job came up, just looking through Indeed, a job came up, Worthing Mencap, looking for a energy advisor. And I thought, I don't know much, not energy as in energy, but, energy, gas and electric. I thought, I don't know much about that. But anyway, I applied and I did a big presentation and I was lucky to get the job. And it's been fantastic. It's just the most amazing place to work. So Worthing Mencap was established in 1958 by a group of parents who had children who had learning disabilities, and they sort of got themselves together, had a group, and then they used to just go out and do activities and just supported each other really. And that sort of grew and grew, and they were instrumental for starting Ferring Country Centre, which is a lovely day centre in Ferring, and also another charity called Sussex Seals, which supports adults with learning disabilities in the community. So I think it was 2007, Worthing Mencap bought it's just a shop in South Farm Road in Worthing. and that was going to be their sort of like advice centre. So you could go along there and get advice if you had somebody that had a learning disability and you needed advice. That's where you would go along to. But as the years went on, it grew and grew, and what they do now is, I think it was, I can't remember the date, but they started, they thought it'd be good to have a cafe. So that was great. They got funding to start a little cafe, and they were able to offer people drinks, cups of tea, sandwiches and things like that. But they were very, very lucky, and now they've got funding from West Sussex to actually train people in buddies to learn about cafe work, cooking, front of house, back of house, customer service. So we have trainees, people with learning disabilities, trainees that come in every day. There's different students each day. They all have their certain day they come in, and they serve customers, and they help prepare the food, and they help make the cakes, and which is lovely. And at the end of it, they get a certificate to say that they've actually trained in a cafe. So if they want to go on then and work, you know, out in the community in a cafe, they've got this lovely certificate. So yeah, and inside the cafe, I mean, we have about 300 people that come and visit each week. It's so busy. And then we decided we're gonna, in 2011, they opened next door a charity shop. And it's lovely in there, and students can go in there, and people with learning disabilities, I call them students because they're learning, and they're learning to work in a shop, retail. They volunteer, which is really lovely. So that's happening. But also, we only a couple of weeks ago, we've got another shop on the same parade, and we've opened it. The town crier was there, and it was really lovely. And it's going to be selling furniture, soft furnishings, lamps, sort of small electrical appliances, things like that. We've also got people with a learning disability working in there, supporting and, you know, giving us their time really. So we're almost taking over South Farm Road. We've actually painted all the shops now pink and this bright green, so it does stick out. It's lovely. The WAC service, which is in Buddies, is advice service. Helps people with anything from, you know, their benefits, personal things, their health, if they want to access courses, things like absolutely anything. The WAC team, they call the WAC team, and they are there to offer this high quality service, which is really useful. So people can go in there and they can have a coffee and a cake, sit and chat to one of the guys, and get lots of information. Hang on, I'm just having a quick look here. So the work experience is West Sussex County Council have been funding it now for a long time, and I've been witnessing people going in there and getting such good. They love it. They absolutely love it. And if you were to go into Buddies and just sit and have a cup of tea, you would feel the vibe, the energy in there. It's just so lovely. We have people can go in there and they can do colouring, or they can do activities. We have a bingo session there. We also have some guy come in with a guitar on a Friday and he's singing. And honestly, the atmosphere and the vibe in there is just wonderful. So the actual training is 6 months, and their certificate is demonstrates that they've learned and they've got good skills. What I do, so the energy advice, we've taken on a contract with Southern Gas Network, and I'm getting information out all over West Sussex to people with learning disability who would like to know more about people that live independently and they want to save money on their bills. I can support with energy advice. I can support with debt advice. Anything to do with gas, water, electric. I can help them join the priority service register so that they get priority services if anything goes down. And what I've been doing it as like a workshop, and it's a bit of a boring subject. I know not everyone was interested in gas, electric, water, and if they're not the bill payer, then it also goes over their head. But what I do is I do a workshop and I make it fun by having games, and I have a little bingo, and we have prizes. So people are more very interactive, so they remember things more. And it's been really successful, and people have started inviting me back to, can you come and do another workshop? So that's good. What I've been doing recently is I've been travelling around all the libraries in West Sussex and just leaving sort of information. I find the rural areas of West Sussex quite hard to reach because I don't really know what's kind of happening. I've been to all the day centres, you know, I've reached out to a lot of people. It's the rural areas I'm trying to get to now. So I was hoping that I could maybe come along to some of the doctor's surgeries and leave some information. It's just a little leaflet that I've made. It's just a lovely little leaflet, nothing grand. And it gives people information about people with learning disabilities and where they can get support and how we can help. So if you'd be happy for me to come along and drop something off. What else can I tell you about buddies? So we have tonight, for example, we're going to I forget the venue, but we use it every time, and it's a disco. It's like a summer disco, and everyone goes along. It's only from 7 till 10. It's not late. They can buy drinks, and they can do their own DJing. You know, they can get up on the stage and play records. And it's fantastic, and everyone dances, and it's just amazing. And I'm going to go along tonight and support and help that. Blue Starfish is I just remembered the venue. It's called the Factory, and it's in Ivy Arch Road in Worthing. That's where we use. Blue Starfish is for people with learning disabilities, where they can go out and they can have fun. And we do like beach walks, we have games on the beach, or we do Emma, one of the teams, she takes people out for evening dinners. You know, we book up in a nice pub and everyone meets at the pub and we have a meal, and which is really nice social thing, or cinema, bowling, that kind of thing. It's just lovely and busy. And I really recommend you all go on the Buddies Worthing Mencap website and have a look to see what we do. Because there's lots of, you know, we've just had our big summer fete. Well, it's not even a fete, it's a summer day, and it's at the Worthing Sports and Leisure Centre. And hundreds of people from all over came, and there was magic, there was disco, there was sports, there was a free ice cream for everybody, and it was a lovely, sunny, brilliant day, and really, really good. So I just can't tell you how wonderful Buddies is. It's just, I absolutely love my job, and every day I go to work and it's something new's happening. Everyone's happy. In Buddies, everyone's happy. You don't get that in a workplace. Sometimes there's always someone that's miserable. Everyone is happy, and yeah, it's a great place. And if I could come along to the surgeries and drop off some information, I'll make a list and I'll come round and see you all. So that's kind of me, but have a look on the website. There's lots more.
Oh, thank you, Sue. And you can tell how much you love the job and how much you love Buddies in Worthing. And I've been along to Buddies several times, and it is a lovely atmosphere in there. Do you work with sort of the wider sort of Mencap sort of throughout the county at all, or is it mainly just Worthing that you're involved with?
Well, it's only Worthing that I'm involved with, but I do go to East Kent Mencap.
Right.
I speak to the ladies at Croydon Mencap and also Reading Mencap. We kind of like.
So it's more of a regional thing than it is a sort of like a county thing as such. Okay.
Yeah, Worthing. Yeah, we're just West Sussex really.
Okay.
You know, that's kind of us really. And my contract with SGN is just obviously West Sussex.
Yeah.
But you know, people come from afar because it's a lovely day out. There's a day centre in Horsham called the Strawford Centre. They all came down the other day on a minibus and had lunch and sat outside. It was a sunny day, and then they went off to the beach. And it's all up on their website, you know, photos and things. Yeah, really good day. So yeah, so that's me.
No, that's brilliant, and I really appreciate you coming along to talk. And as I say, you can see that how much you enjoy the work that you do. It just
I'm
pours
looking
out
in the chat, and it seems like people would like me to go along to the surgery. So
yeah.
I'll do that. I'll take some information and sometimes, you know, someone with a learning disability or a carer just might not have that information, you know. So anyway, yeah. So it'll all be there in a nice little thing that I've made. It's all homemade, but it's nothing glam, but it's all there.
No, that's wonderful.
Okay.
Mike, will we be able, I suppose we can get all those requests off the chat after the meeting and send them over to Sue. Yeah, because we've got quite a few surgeries that would like for you to connect with them.
We can do that.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you very much. Brilliant. Mike, I was a bit rude, but I've got to actually get to Buddies.
Okay,
so they want me over there, and I'm at home at the moment, so I need to get off over there if that's
it's not a problem. Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
Freddie's got a question. I don't know.
Yes. Sue, I was just wondering, before you fly off, could you just put your email in the chat, and then we can all contact you instead? That might be a bit easier.
Yeah, of course. Let me do it now.
Freddie.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Please just bombard me with anything. I'll be happy.
Thanks.
Oh no, that's spelled that wrong. And also, you know, my workshops that I do, I can go anywhere in West Sussex and deliver a little workshop to people to learn how to save energy at home and you know, give them advice and it's very simple advice and it's fun. You know, I make it fun. Okay. Yeah,
no, that's brilliant. And I think particularly with GP surgeries, because they have support for people with learning sort of difficulties and like with the health checks and that, so that'd be really good.
Yeah. Okay. Lovely to meet you all.
And you. Thanks for your time.
Bye.
Bye. Brilliant. We're certainly zipping through today. It's been sort of really good so far, but unfortunately you've got me talking for a little while now, so I'll apologise. So this kind of leads in nicely sort of from where Sue was talking. So Sue was talking about her energy project, which is just for people with learning difficulties or disabilities. And as you know, Caroline and myself and Sammy, who's with us now, who we, as well as doing the primary care project, we're actually involved with a very similar project, which is funded through SGN, and it's working very closely with the Arran and Chichester Citizen Advice Service, but they cover the whole of the county sort of with their energy advisors. So like I say, very similar, but we're working sort of with the carers. Some of you have had some of the leaflets that we had. We're getting a new stock of leaflets that are going to be sort of delivered to you sort of very soon. If you haven't had any leaflets, just let me know. We try to sort of get out to as many places as we can, and hopefully we're trying to go out to surgeries to catch up with the baseline reviews and sort of drop off some information for you. But with the increased sort of cost of living that's affecting us all, and particularly sort of with the carers, it has sort of impacted a huge amount. And as I say, we've been funded through SGN to improve access to energy advice for all carers in West Sussex. And carers, they can either, the conversations they have with our helpline team when they sort of phone in to speak to someone will be sort of directed. That with one of the things that we will be talking to them about is how they're sort of like coping sort of like with their energy bills, and it'll be sort of mentioned some of the support that can be provided through the project. For example, one of the sort of biggest selling points for a lot of people is a priority services register. And a lot of people don't know about that, or don't, maybe sort of not too sure whether they've actually sort of been registered on that. And that's a really good selling point, sort of having that sort of priority number that they can sort of call sort of 24 hours a day. They get text and voice message sort of alerts to their phone, letting them know if there's going to be any large power cuts in the area. Tailored support such as home visits, hot meal advice, and keeping their sort of friends and family sort of up to date with what's going on. If someone's sort of like particularly sort of living on their own. And it's particularly useful for people using medical equipment and relying on electricity and the water for that. Also, anyone that's got children under the age of 5, partially registered, partially sighted, or with who's hard of hearing, even people, with lesser sort of ailments and disabilities, but those that are sort of pensionable age would be able to sort of like to register on this register. So it's really sort of one of the selling points for our project. But you've been contacted by Caroline and myself, some of you have sort of recently, because you've expressed some interest in us setting up our energy groups. Now the energy groups we're trying to set them up with as many people as sort of possible, and it's going to be like a safe space where people can come and they can chat with other carers, have a cup of tea, but they can also receive advice and information from Caroline, myself, and also with Sammy, who's our income and maximisation officer. And Caroline has got our first one, which is starting next Wednesday, the 16th of July, and that's at Southgate Surgery. Caroline, are you happy to give a little bit of information about that surgery at all, please, and how it come about for yourself?
Yeah, I can't switch my camera on. I can try, but all you'll get is a lovely picture of Arundel Castle. So I am here, but I'm not showing up on camera, so I'll just leave it off. But yeah, so I asked the care coordinator, Lynn, over at Southgate Surgery, if we could possibly use their lovely big meeting room. And she ran it past the practice manager, who seemed really keen to jump on board. So we're actually trialing it for 3 months. As you say, the first one is next Wednesday. So I'll be there with Sammy. They have invited all of their carers that they have registered on their carers register. So we'll see. I don't know how many people are going to come. In the future, we will also be inviting carers that we have registered here at Carers Support that live local to Southgate Surgery. But for this first one, because it's the very first one, we just wanted to see how much interest there would be just contacting the patients within the surgery that are carers. Yeah, so I'll be there talking about carer support in general. If anybody comes along that isn't registered with us, that is registered as a carer at the surgery, we can arrange for them to be registered. If that's what they'd like to do, they can join us and then have access to all of our services. We'll also be talking to them about the energy project. Any carers that are registered with us, all carers are entitled to this new service that we're working in collaboration with Citizens Advice, ACCA, Arran and Chichester Citizens Advice. So once the carers are registered with us, we can route them through into receiving some energy advice from a trained energy advisor over at Citizens Advice. Sammy will be there. We'll be talking through just very what's the word? I don't want to say superficial, but not as in-depth as Martin and Donna would give, but just initial information, I suppose, about benefits and ideas for income maximisation. And again, if the carer would like to have a more in-depth conversation about that, if they're registered with us, we can make an appointment with our benefits advice service. We've also got a member of the Carers Health team is going to be there, and also a member, someone from the PAT team, they're going to be there. So there's going to be Carers Support West Sussex, Carers Health team and the PAT team. We're all going to be there. Tea, coffee, biscuits. Hopefully we'll get a good turnout, so the carers can have a chat with each other as well as chatting with us and receiving some professional advice. And hopefully any carers that aren't currently registered with us will have that opportunity as well to register with Carers Support. So I've got the first one next Wednesday at Southgate. That's trialling for 3 months, once a month. And we've also just confirmed that Dolphin Surgery are also going to be hosting a monthly carer group with us. That's starting at the end of August. Again, we'll be trialing it for a few months just to see how it goes, and it will just run along the same lines. There'll be professional advice and peer support, and just a nice place for carers to come along, get some advice and have a chat with other carers with a cup of tea.
No, that's amazing. Thank you, Caroline. And also Shoreham Health Centre have kindly agreed as well to start hosting us for our energy group in October. And that's starting on the 6th of October, I think it is, 6th of October. And then that'll be monthly at the Shoreham Health Centre. So this project is very seasonal in the sense that we have to sort of think about the different times of year, because it's not just the cold periods that we have to think about sort of with the well-being of our carers and how sort of that can affect sort of people. We also have to think about sort of the extreme heat. And I was looking on the news last night, and we are actually heading for a third heat wave expected in parts of the UK, particularly in the southeast of England. And it is going to have significant impacts likely on sort of health and social care services. So one of the things we've sort of developed is our summer tips and information, which is available on our energy website, which is on our Carers Support main sort of website. And it's really useful for those who are sort of living on their own or maybe in care, because they may be sort of impacted by these extreme heats. If they've got serious or long-term illness, taking medication that may cause heat intolerance, or they just find it hard to keep cool, infants and sort of elderly over 75. So we've got a list of possible, tips that will help them, avoiding the sun between 11 and 3 p.m, keeping in the shade, wearing a hat, sun cream, keeping the window curtains closed. So a list of things which maybe sort of pretty standard, sort of many people probably know this is what we need to do, but we don't often think about it. Even when we had the heat wave 2 weeks ago, it was unbearable. Sort of, I think it was on a Tuesday, absolutely no air whatsoever. And it weren't until later on in the day that I realised, shut the blinds, that's going to cool the place down. So I even had to sort of like think about some of the tips sort of like for keeping cool. So those are the sort of things that we're looking at there. But with our energy groups, that's going to take us sort of into the winter months, where we're actually going to sort of be looking at the other extreme temperatures and preparation. Anna.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, we've obviously got a summer top tips leaflet that's in design at the moment, but that'll take a little while to distribute. would people be interested in us doing another digiboard screen around top tips for summer, which we could probably get to people early next week? It's obviously in the middle of it, but yeah, I just wonder if that's something that would be useful to people. I don't know how people can show me if that would be useful or not, but maybe just, hi Caroline.
Sorry, I clicked the wrong button.
Oh, I think you were just showing me. You were showing me it was useful.
I was flicking between.
You work with us, Caroline. You can't tell
sorry.
me. Okay, I think people are saying that'd be So we'll see if we can just get an abridged version of our leaflet that just goes through. I mean, they're standard tips, but it's quite nice to have something explaining who the most vulnerable are in a heat wave, and just some of the standard tips to think about in the height of these kind of over 30 temperatures. So we'll pop that out. Hopefully, I'll get in touch with our marketing directly after this and see if they can produce something either by the end of this week. One thing that would be really good is I am conscious we send these things and they get because they go to a lot of people, they don't necessarily get received. So if you do want it and you don't receive it from us, just get in contact with myself, Caroline, or Mike, and then we'll pop it to you directly. But yes, we'll circulate to everybody towards the beginning of next week, something on extreme temperatures. I think top tips for staying cool. Cheers.
I was just going to say about leading into the energy groups that we're looking at sort of like for the winter, really. So it's a sort of good timing. But if anyone's got any spaces, we've been writing out to surgeries at some people that said they may be interested, but maybe they needed to check whether there's enough space to host a group. If you are able to, just drop us an email or reply to an email if you receive one from us, just so we can have that conversation and see whether we can set up a group at your surgery, so that we can offer a space for sort of our carers to come and meet once a month. Anna, did you want to finish with anything before? Because we've got about 25 minutes left, but is there anything you'd like to add to today's discussion?
Yeah, no, just to echo, I just want to, echo that one of the things we've thought about with those energy groups is how they're important to us and important to you guys. And as you know, has kind of been broadly described, we'll always have a professional context. So typically, like the first 30 minutes being someone coming to speak, and there'll be themes. So like Martin said, he can come and talk about it. We're going to have citizens advice come and speak specifically about winter considerations, and that's much more. Energy is a deeper concept than just bills. It is thinking about your home, mold, dehumidifiers, thinking of your freezers, like just thinking, being prepared for winter, carbon monoxide poisoning, free carbon monoxide alarms. So we are going to theme those opportunities to make sure we're covering off key points that will be relevant, in particular around people's health and well-being and their energy. So one aspect of that is potentially with some of the surgeries we're working with is thinking about how it connects to the flu vaccination programme and using one of those meeting opportunities to be around the flu vaccination and aligned. So I know many of you don't have spaces, but if you do have a space, we do all of the legwork for those kind of events, and they can be big or small. So our carer groups, we don't tend to think more than 15 to 20 people there, because otherwise it can become a big event as opposed to a quality interaction between people. So it doesn't have to be massive spaces, just spaces that help us kind of bring the message around both health, care awareness, and how it's going to support them, particularly in the winter season. It does link very closely to our winter campaigns. And that's also just to say, usually with flu and vaccine season, we produce quite a lot of materials for you, which we will be putting out to you guys at the kind of maybe end of August, beginning of September. That will include things, like Facebook posts that we've done before, some materials you could put on your website, posters, any of those kind of things. But as an organisation, we're going to do a fairly substantial campaign around winter generally and being prepared for winter as a carer. And that's going to be kind of you know, like I believe there'll be buses and posters and all sorts of things. So I think we're going to quite heavily connect the messaging around carers' health with that. So we'll bring those messages to you when the time comes. And I think we'll probably look to do more of that general messaging for you guys as well, with your sort of posters that we can provide for any notice boards, and also with you know, digiboards, and with that general content as well. So it's kind of just giving you the heads up that we will be supporting those messages coming early September, late August time. And then the last thing is, we mentioned before that as part of this project, or as part of our kind of primary care and energy project, we're looking at producing, well, we called it Vital Signs. So it's looking at the key signs of early deterioration in the health of the person that an individual is caring for. We have to be very careful from a patient safety point of view that this isn't viewed as advice or guidance, but it is about providing some level of confidence and insight to what those key signs of deterioration might be. And so for that reason, I can quickly share it with you now. You've probably all seen, or maybe not, because this is actually focused on domiciliary and care homes, but there's a document that was created by NHS Sussex back in 2023. Well, this is the latest iteration, which was 2023, and it goes through the green, orange and red, the SBARD tool, which you've flagged with us before, and it kind of goes through the key considerations, health considerations. But this document is 64 pages, and it's very clinically focused, so it's quite hard for an individual at home to be thinking about it. And it's just so much information, you can get lost in. I mean, it's a fantastic resource, but from a kind of, you know, from a general person engaging with this material, it can be quite overwhelming. So what we are trying to do is base a resource on this. So this is where the kind of content comes from. This is where they can reach out for more information, to have, you know, if they've got any sort of more in-depth areas that they would like to research. But what we're doing is producing something kind of simpler. So looking at those key signs, so it covers the same things. It basically goes through the same checklist. So, and then goes through what does mobility look like, but in a much simpler version. Similarly with pain, similarly with confusion, drinking, urine, excuse my drawings, this is before we get it designed, continence, bowel habits, skin deterioration, damage. Now with all of this, we need to be very clear that it is just it's just an information document. It isn't something that we are saying is like advice. And I'm very grateful that we've pulled together a few clinicians from both the Carers Health team and from yourselves. There's GP, paramedic, yes, Leslie, but at the moment, that's just our very first draft. We are bringing together an expert reference group of clinicians to go through that. And similarly, we're bringing together a carer reference group to understand whether or not it's actually useful and if it's accessible for them. We do have, at the moment, a paramedic, primary care paramedic, a GP, and 3 Carers Health clinicians, plus a carer, and one of our wellbeing workers, and we're seeking someone from the hospital side of things actually in our carer reference group. But what I wondered is if you've got any, because it would be great to get a little bit more representation from primary care and from from GP or a nurse or healthcare assistant. So if any of you would be interesting, I mean, we are also having conversations with public health to check where we land with some of this stuff, but we are at the same time hoping to convene a group next week and conclude this work, if possible at all, in September. So it is time bound. I know everyone has holidays, so it's only 2 or 3 meetings, hopefully. But if you do have any anyone within your surgeries with a clinical background that would like to participate in the development of something that's really meaningful for carers and just helps them to know when it's important to reach out, but also when perhaps just to see early signs that might suggest that there's deterioration in the person they care for. So if you do want to do that, either pop something in the chat or please email me separately, and I will give you a bit more information on that. But subject to getting, who knows what it'll end up looking like, because you might have to take all the red, amber, greens out and just say, here's some key signs, check them out. Who knows what it'll end up looking like, but we do hope that that will be available to all of the carers you support in your surgeries for kind of October, hopefully, once it's all designed up. So yes, that is me blathering on about all of the things. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you, Jackie. Cool.
Good. Well done. There's a lot of information sort of everyone sort of had to take in today, and it's been really useful. It's been great having Martin along, and it was nice sort of to hear how much Sue enjoys sort of the work at Buddies and sort of what a valuable service they provide. And also just to sort of update you sort of as we had done sort of with the energy projects, I popped a little survey in the chat if you wouldn't mind completing that. We're looking at the next day of our Carers Lead Learning Network meeting being the 11th of September.